Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishna. Here basically we are discussing the PHP part 15 number. In this basically one of the person told us how to do the setup. So this basically we have already discussed. First basically you have to install the web server basically. Because whenever you are basically running anything in web browser basically, for example you are running something like you are clicking from a C drive and one HTML file basically you are clicking. So it will open in browser. Double click. But when you are double clicking the PHP file, that time basically it will not get open in web browser. Why? Because internally when operating system was created, there were certain level of extension basically which was given basically. That is basically the setup basically you can say. That is supposed to be open in web browser and which is not supposed to be open in web browser. Hence, there are basically certain level of functionality basically, or basically some certain level of things basically which are supposed to be done, so that basically it should open in web browser. So in this basically one of the PHP file basically is if basically it has to be open in web browser basically. Open means when you are basically, for example, in PHP basically if you have to run, if you have to print a hello world, you have to write echo and hello world, right? Double quotes and like this way syntax are there. Then only basically if you run the PHP in web browser basically it will get run and it will display hello world, not echo hello world basically. Why? Because it's a web browser basically. So web server can be IIS, anything basically it can be. PHP basically in this basically one of the percent of the how basically system recognize basically it's a PHP. How basically when you run the browser when the php.hello world file basically when you, for example hello world file is there in PHP, then how basically browser knows that basically it has to print hello world only, it is not supposed to print echo hello world. So that basically is the SDK basically, that is a development kit basically that is basically available in the PHP websites basically are there, that basically the latest version basically you can download basically from, and basically you have to install it basically. That basically you can write in any of the search engine basically and tell them basically that PHP install PHP basically. So like this is that basically you need the database also basically. Free is a MySQL server basically. That basically is a free version basically. That basically we have already discussed. This everything basically is in computer basically, right? It's everything is in computer basically, right? It's not reason physical everything is created basically. PHP site equal to 1000 cities. SQL Server database, Oracle data server database, my MS SQL Server database. This everything is created. Physically everything is created. The command is already created by the PHP department, the PHP server basically. They have created everything basically. Now basically the PHP is net is the official website basically. From this basically you can download the software development kit basically, and this is the website basically php.net. This basically they keep on changing but mostly they don't keep. From this basically you will get the PHP install file basically. So PHP online compiler, one of the person told me, yeah, compiler what actually this is, yeah, what is actually compile? Compile is basically one word basically, right? It's basically an English word basically. So one of the person told me, when you open any file basically in browser, for example you have written some echo bracket this that basically PHP command basically you have written. When you basically run that particular PHP file in browser basically, it will not print echo hello world this that, it will not print like that basically, it will print hello world only. That is basically the HTML format only. How basically it prints it, nothing basically happens automatically in this world basically. Something basically is there basically in between that basically do something and then basically things happen basically. AI basically is what basically. So on the personal AI तो basically यार It's automatic basically. Everything basically happens. Artificial intelligence is name given basically. But artificial intelligence basically happens automatically. No, basically. It basically certain level of conditions basically happens then only. So this is exactly basically compiler basically is there. That's why basically you able to see the hello world only basically. But there is nothing magic basically. It's the compiler basically. So nothing happens automatically. That basically is the stuff. So PHP compiler basically do everything, and editor basically that everybody knows basically. There are many editors basically are available. You can write down basically Google, or basically you can write down basically the Lycos is there. Many websites basically are there. Many search engine websites are there, which will give you the exact editor basically. If you don't want to use editor, then basically if you don't have any space, or basically you don't have, you basically say that basically I don't like heavy parts, heavy softwares, then you can use Notepad basically. Just copy paste this line in Notepad and run the hello world basically. Run the file basically in the browser. It will run basically. It will print hello world basically. Why? Because compiler basically is there, and software basically of PHP basically SDK, that is the software development kit basically is installed, which has lots of stuff basically in it internally. So that's why basically this meaning like this basically the compiler is there, editor basically there. Hello, W3 school is also basically one of the online basically, which basically gives you the basic information basically. See basically, this is the PHP. Like this basically question mark, bracket, arrow, greater than sign, less than sign. Dollar basically is the variable declaration basically. In this basically we one text has been defined, and echo like this basically the print has been done. There are many ways basically you can write down basically. You can write down through this way also. Here basically the concatenation basically has to be done. Lots of things basically like this concatenation basically happens. Lots of things basically are there. So like this basically, if you want to print anything basically, you can basically print in any methods. There are many methods basically, which is given basically. So like this basically, PHP basically, it is going to print this basically. So you can print it and basically you can check the stuff. PHP version basically. One of the percent of yeah, I want to know the information basically how many things are given new basically in the new version basically. So you can check the command. What are the functions basically given in the PHP version? So like this basically, whatever physical things are created, that only basically converts into the command. So this basically something somebody might have created physical place. That's why basically command is given basically. You basically you can create your own function basically. But it's to create function also basically it's very dangerous basically. To create a function also basically it's very dangerous, because it might possible that some condition basically get connect, so you might get into trouble. So the function creation also everything has to be planned basically. That's why basically Amazon told that basically by हमने तो function we have created for function also basically, so anybody can deploy their function also and we will handle it everything. So in next video basically we are going to really cover this topic.